Now back to the present. It had been a week since they started their conquest of the Labyrinth. Shinji and the other two were examining their loot while resting in the Labyrinth's inn. By the way Mark began, apparently in a good mood. We've earned a lot in these few days, haven't we? They claimed that this place would be Spartan, but it's quite comfortable. Despite that, the accommodation fee is cheap, and we've saved a lot of money by selling unnecessary equipment, right? Shin looked up showing a bit of interest. Shinji responded by taking gold coins out of their purse. They stared longingly at the golden sheen. This wasn't just the money from treasure chests, monsters, and selling loot. They also received dozens of gold coins and even a stellar gold coin as rewards. This was a huge prize. I suppose. We've earned quite the pretty penny. From what I've heard, the challengers on the front line haven't managed to make it past the 50th floor. Only Masayuki's party has managed to conquer it, so that will make us the second group to do so. Masayuki's group was evidently stuck on the 60th floor. And the other challengers, they guessed, were being held up by the boss monster of the 40th floor. Thanks to this, Shinji's crew was in the spotlight as this month's MVPs. Yeah, that Tempest serpent, right. It was certainly strong, but it was no match for us. The Tempest serpent was ranked A-, so even high-level adventurers struggled against it. Its breath attack, covering a wide area, was devastating in small rooms. The challengers had no place to escape, leaving them no choice but to face the enemy head-on. If the snake managed to wrap itself around you though, its tough scales meant you were a definite goner. This monster was supposed to be a tricky opponent, but Shinji's crew beat it without breaking much of a sweat. They weren't interested in how strong the monsters were, but what they got after defeating them. I wonder what's up with the hole in this weapon. It's listed for a crazy price. The ridiculous number threw them for a loop, enough to make them drop the idea of selling it. Weapons with holes began to appear in loot starting around the 40th floor. No one had ever seen anything like it in the Empire, so naturally the three of them had no idea how much they were worth. They could have sold them for a fortune, but they remained on the fence about whether they should. What's the deal with this hole? Even my appraisal magic tells me nothing. Maybe we should hold on to them until Master comes. These kinds of weapons didn't appear before the 40th floor. Yeah. They dropped from the boss room or powerful monsters around the 50th floor. Yeah, you're right. However, these actually seem to be in circulation in town, albeit quite rare. They say that they're an exceptional find in treasure chests on the 30th floor and below. I guess so, since its build quality is impeccable. But that alone can't be the reason they're this expensive though, right? Maybe there's a secret behind it. Seems like it. When I asked the merchants, they just gave me this smile and didn't tell me anything. Hey, it sure is weird. Let's keep them until the old man gets here. But more importantly, this is the deal. I mean, look at this. Mark shouted, taking out Minos' Bardiche, the Gozu's battle axe, and presented it to them. It glimmered with a bewitching silver glow. A high-class masterpiece made of mithril. It was a unique grade weapon, obtained from the treasure chest protected by the guardian of the 50th floor. It's a unique weapon, you know. Even in the Empire it's impossible to get a unique grade, right? Mark was so enthralled by it that he was practically rubbing his cheek against the Bardiche. It was undeniably a powerful weapon. If you became an Imperial Guardian of the Empire, you would be lent legendary grade weapons. While soldiers of lower ranks were given equipment that had good quality and strength, they lacked any magical properties. It was understandable why Mark would be so excited given how even the senior officers would struggle to get their hands on unique grade equipment. I guess so. Yuki-san told us that the Empire's weapons are mass-produced. We rarely see them, but it seems that all the legendary grade weapons have the same shape. Is it even possible? Asked Shin, wondering if legendary grade weapons could really be mass-produced. Logically, at least, that shouldn't be possible. Shinji, isn't that an outlandish assumption? Mark scoffed. You think they can be mass-produced just because they have the same shape? He didn't like the idea, since it meant that his newly acquired unique grade weapon wasn't worth nearly that much. Of course, doing it with normal means would be impossible. Master Gadra himself noted that even the mass production of Magisteel is too difficult. But it's not impossible if you can maintain a special environment. A special environment. Yeah. Shinji continued. An environment so densely packed with magicules, it'd kill a man just by standing in it. Someone at rank B wouldn't make it long either, and even someone ranked A probably wouldn't make it out without getting sick. If a piece of armor were kept in a place with such an environment for a long period of time, maybe 100 to 1,000 years, it would then be ready to evolve. After that, if a capable owner were recognized by the armor, it would start its own evolution from there. Surely such conditions don't exist. Yeah, I think it's impossible as well. Right. But Yuki-san and Master Gadra said otherwise, Shinji insisted. So, even if it was possible, what's your point? Mark shot back. Well, look. I was just wondering if this Bardiche was produced in such a way. No way. You don't think so, huh? But listen, there's also a hole in this Bardiche. You wouldn't see this on your run-of-the-mill Bardiche, right? True. I wonder what this is. It's a beautiful weapon, nonetheless. Although it has an eerie shape. It wasn't as though Shinji really wanted to complain. He wasn't jealous seeing how happy Mark was, either. After all, neither Shinji nor Shin could handle weapons as large as this Bardiche. It's just that, Shinji fumbled for the right words. If a country can casually give away weapons of this caliber, it's quite likely that this country is also more dangerous than we imagined. Mark and Shin fell silent. In fact, the two of them felt the same way. Mark was worried that the receptionist would take away his Bardiche shortly after he got it. The rule stated that all items obtained in the labyrinth belonged to the challengers. Despite this, he figured a country would normally confiscate such a weapon, especially since it was this powerful. If that happened, Mark and the others would have no choice but to comply. As long as they were dependent on the country, they were forced to follow its directives and decisions. That was a rule common to every country. They were spies first and foremost, so stirring any kind of trouble would come to bite them twice as hard. But what ended up happening was a complete 180 from what they expected. They were met with cheers and applause from the staff, who even handed them extra prize money. By now they'd seen enough to believe that Tempest was unlike any other country. The weapons are one thing, Shinji muttered, but the whole country really is bizarre, isn't it? It's quite unexpected, Mark echoed. I think we make more money and have more fun if we took conquering the labyrinth more seriously. I mean, we've nothing to lose, right? If you're weak, you'll barely make ends meet, but if you're strong, like we are. Mark, stop. You remember what turncoats get, right? A death sentence. Yeah, I know that, Mark replied, exasperated. But for what it's worth, life here seems more enjoyable. That was one thing they could all agree on. However, reality was harsh. Mark's words were tempting, but this wasn't the time nor place to be daydreaming. If the war starts, this country will probably suffer a lot. Yeah. If this country wins, we could happily defect, but if we desert the empire now, none of the countries will accept us. We can't afford living without a country. They sighed and abandoned their naive thoughts. Changing gears, they started contemplating their strategy for the following day's conquest. Tomorrow Shinji started. We will head to the 51st floor. The area from that point onward seems to be called the Paradise of the Dead. Mark's Minos' Bardiche is made of holy attribute mithril, so we can expect it to be highly effective against dead spirits and undead beings. Exactly. Also, this is kind of weird, but this really is like a game, the boss protecting the key to the next stage, Mark pointed out. And the monsters are also getting stronger and stronger after each floor, Shin thought aloud. Shinji was already on the same page. He was a resident RPG specialist, so it went without saying that he had already picked up on it. But it was so creepy that he didn't want to think about it. Too many things came to his mind. The boss monsters, one on every 10th floor, were becoming stronger the lower they went. First, it was the B-rank black spider, and then it was a B-plus ranked evil centipede. And on the 30th floor, the B-plus ranked ogre lord showed up with multiple subordinates. The fact that those monsters knew how to coordinate made it impossible to beat them with strength alone. There was the previously mentioned A- ranked Tempest serpent on the 40th floor, and the monster that appeared on the 50th floor was the magi named Gozer, a Jayuki that could talk like a human. Something of that caliber was so rare, you wouldn't find one in 100 years. It was a hazard class, or, if you preferred to use the rank classification Yuki had created, an A-ranked monster. An opponent that dangerous was typically imagined serving a demon lord. Still, the trio had made quick work of it, though not without substantial effort. Despite this, they could have taken it on solo, if they really wanted to. But it was worth remembering that they couldn't die in the labyrinth, so aggressive and reckless strategies paid off. Mark began with, seriously, since a monster as strong as that was protecting floor 50, the ones following it will be even tougher nuts to crack. It might be our last fight, she nodded with a thoughtful expression. Things had gone smoothly for now, but from this point on they would face a rough ride that they all agreed on. I guess our tactics centered on Mark will stay the same as before. Now that we have special weapons, let's push it as far as we can. Yeah. I don't suppose you'll find monsters much stronger than that. In fact, I'd say the 60th floor is the final one, but if it isn't, don't freak out, reassured Mark. Don't worry, that's not happening. Shinji denied it, but really, he had heard unpleasant rumors. He didn't want to be the one to rain on their parade though. As rumor had it, the dungeon sprawled underground for a total of 100 floors. That's ridiculous, he couldn't help but think this way. Despite his concerns about the next boss, he knew there was no use fretting. The trio believed they would win in the end, since death wasn't a factor for them. However, it was going to be a long, arduous battle ahead. Well, if worst comes to worst, we'll still come out alive. So, let's stay sharp and go hard, Shinji announced with vigor. They were all on board. Their sights were set on the final floor. They wanted to confirm whether it held research facilities or not. The three men went over their plans once more and then got a good night's rest. 3 days later. After conquering the poisoned swamps and corrosive lands, the trio finally found the stairs on the 59th floor, leading to the 60th floor where the boss monster's room was. It had taken them 7 days to reach the 50th floor, but it took them 3 days to reach the 60th floor from there. The area was smaller than the previous floor, but the difficulty rose exponentially. Are you ready? Yeah. They had rested up the night before and were full of energy, ready to go. The one ahead is called a guardian, just like the one from floor 50. There's no doubt that it'll be an intelligent monster. I know. It's likely that it's more troublesome than the Death Lord we fought yesterday. Let's go all out from the start. As long as they kept their cool, the boss would go down easily. They gave a final nod to each other, and then they carefully placed their hands on the door and pushed it open with a single thrust.